5 of us present. Steve Thorndle, who is the Associate Director for Training and Compliance here at the Washington Student Achievement Council. Kara Larson, Data Analyst. Dave Richard, who is the Senior Software Developer. And Becky Phillips, who is the Product Manager for the State Board for Community and Technical Colleges. My name is Ann Boyles. I'm a program associate working with Steve Thorndle in the training and compliance area. And what I'd like to do before we get started is just give you a little bit of housekeeping information. We realize that a number of you do not have the ability to chat with us on the audio end. There are a couple of ways that you can communicate with us. Down here in the left-hand corner of your screen, you will see a chat window. Make sure you've clicked on the chat tab, and then down here at the bottom, you're able to type in your questions or comments, and then we will be able to see that. Periodically, what will happen is our presentation will fill the full screen on our end, but we will drop the screen periodically to check for questions. The other area where you can let us know you have questions is in this Q&A area. If you click on that, you have the ability to type in a question, and we'll be able to see that when we drop the screen as well. With that, what I'd like to do is just go ahead and bring our full presentation up and turn the meeting over to Steve Thorndle.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this unit record report session. Becky Phillips, can we hear you now?
Hi, everybody. This is Becky from State Board.
So what we're going to do is we're going to go back and forth a little bit. And, the slides that Becky will cover will be quite obvious in terms of the color scheme and the State Board logos on it. Carol Larson will also take over for a while when we get into actually showing screenshots of kind of the actual production of how to complete the document. So again, thank you, Ann, for leading us off and for getting everybody on the line. And so we'll go to the next slide, please. Okay, so most of you are veterans of this process here, and so we'll go through these rather quickly, these slides here. But it has a very important function for the state to be able to assess the needs of all students, guide legislative policymakers. Rochelle Sharp, our director, uses this data a lot, if you will, with committees and others who are interested in really helping shape the nature of financial aid programs in the state of Washington. And by having this, we're able to generate some good reports for you and profiles by specific programs, and hopefully to minimize ad hoc data requests for institutions. Let's see, we'll go to the next slide. The manual, the original one when we found information was simply dated August of, it was June of 2014, pardon me. And we do have a slightly updated version of it that has some red writing on it that's updated August 4th, 2014. So I'd advise you to go and check that out. It's kind of color-coded with any changes we've made from the first manual. There aren't too many, and they're not too substantial, but it's worth having the whole manual in front of you. The unit record system opened up on August the 15th, and guess what? We had 2 colleges completely submit their data, upload their data, go through the edits. They submitted it on that one day. So that was probably a modern-day record to have anybody interested to do it the first day, and B, somebody who was able to get through it that quickly. And the colleges went through it, said it was, it's progressively got easier over the years, and they like the changes that we, and particularly our programmer Dave Richard, have been able to accomplish in the last couple of years. So we hope that when you get your opportunity to get into this, you'll find this unpleasant, too strong a word, but at least not too painful on that. And I think we'll probably reserve some kind of a special prize to the first community technical college that actually submits it. We don't know what that will be. It's not going to be a trip to Hawaii, but maybe something smaller than that. But anyway, we'll be anxious to get everybody's reports done this year, as you will be. The finalized report date is October 10th. So we always say don't wait till the last moment, although, those two colleges they did the other day, they got it done in one day. But we still recommend that you start working on this at least sometime in September, and give yourself some time to work through edits and reports of that nature. What we do here is we do a lot of analysis later once this comes in, and part of it is a review to see if all the data is clean and if we need to do any follow-up work with colleges, and then to complete doing this analysis so we can do kind of the grand rollout for reports for policymakers and the institutional profile reports. Last year our profile reports came out a bit later than January, probably in March. This year we're quite sure we'll be able to get them out in January to you and let you know when they are available. So as the manual overview, there's general changes, general instructions, data definitions, the application user's guide that Kara will show us later, and a series of appendices. Now the appendices are A through E would apply to you. F, ignore that one because you did complete it through the portal last year. But A lays out in kind of a color-coded schematic the need-based and non-need-based programs recipients that you need to report on. B is the file layout. C are edits, and then there's some crosswalks. You can either look it up by financial aid program or look it up by field name. And one of the things that Carol Larson has done this year is, at least on the manual, if you have the online version and you click, you can quickly move from section to section. So if you were looking up something in the back on year in school, you can click on that, and one section will take you to the definition, another one will take you back to where you were. So we think that's a nice enhancement, and if you do, you can let us know at some point. Next slide. So all of this, and glad we had Becky Phillips on the line because she's going to help you discuss on the CSV file as well. But this is needing to have this big CSV file. When I say big, it's long, and there's lots of spaces and lots of fields that we have, particularly since we're getting aid reported on 5 terms: summer 1, fall, winter, spring, summer 2. But the report is mainly to get information on all need-based aid recipients who have filed at 1314 FAFSAs. But we will get information on some non-need-based programs as well. You'll report this in the CSV file format. It has to have a header row. There is a sample file, sample CSV format, and that's on that website. The one you used last year, you can use that again. There are no changes that are required in the file format from last year. There may be some changes in definitions that feed into that, but the file format is the same. If you download the one that we have, we've reordered it a little differently this year, but that you can still use the ones from before. The system is smart enough that it doesn't really care what order the fields are in, as long as the header row has the correct names on those. So you will going to be determining which students to report. Certainly everybody who completed a 1314 FAFSA is required. And then there are some other need-based recipients for other programs where the FAFSA data may or may not be available. Opportunity Scholarship is one case. I think Opportunity Grant is another case where we do require that those be submitted. Anybody also who has non-need-based federal loans, either unsubsidized or Federal Plus or Federal or Grad Plus, which you likely don't have, but those would all need to be reported. Appendix A gives you all the details. Becky?
Okay. Hi, everybody. As in the past, when you are ready there at the community and technical colleges, you will run the HPUX batch job, SM9738J. It's the same one every year. And it has been modified to produce the CSV file that is required to use the portal. It will include students who received financial aid during the 2013-14 year, and it includes the header row. So we will, as we develop this, I mean, we actually just updated from last year. Part of the testing I do is to make sure it will load into the portal, and I'll be working with Student Achievement Council folks to make sure that that happens. So by the time you get it out there at the CTCs, it will produce the correct file.
Okay, thank you. Let's just check to see if there are any questions right now.
Okay.
No questions so far. Okay, everybody stay awake. This is getting more exciting by the moment. Half here thinks so. Reporting requirements. Again, the intent is to capture everybody in this unit record report, and anybody who completed the 13-14 FAFSA, all the financial aid they might have received on the basis of that, and anything that you might have been awarded based upon a 14-15 FAFSA will be collected next year.
Okay, this is Becky again. Our friend, the HPUX job SM9738J, will select your 2013-14 need-based recipients, and then it will also include the 2013-14 non-need-based federal loan recipients. So following the requirements from the council, we will make sure that job will pull the correct people.
All right, on the programs that FAFSA feels required, probably no surprises here, anywhere from Pell Grant to State Need Grant, College Bound, State Work Study, Passport to College, and need-based institutional gift aid. And other ones that are considered need-based for the unit record are listed here. Again, they're in Appendix A, but include such things as Federal Teach Grant, Opportunity Scholarship, Opportunity Grant, need-based institutional gift aid, and if you have institutional employment that's actually need-based, you would report that. And the worker retraining program funds, here with the initials BFET, I'm going to cover more on the next slide on that. That's the BFET is newly indicated here. So next slide, please. So this is something I received from well, the information was received from Nancy Hedrick at Clark College, who kind of got us into where should we report the BFET funds if a need-based student is getting these funds. And as we discussed this, the workforce training funds bucket appears to be the best bucket based upon what the intent of this program is. So if your need-based recipients receive these funds and they're easily reportable from your system, include the amounts received for the same period of time reported on for your recipients. So a couple have asked and said, well, the fiscal year for BFET is a little different than the fiscal year for this. And best I can say is, again, the intent here is for those particular terms that you have to report on, if students are getting any kind of aid for those terms, we really need to know that, and not necessarily the same fiscal year. So why don't we stop there and see if there are any questions, and unmute it for a moment in case anybody has any questions.
You are now unmuted.
Are we unmuted right now?
We are unmuted.
Any questions on that or comments? I know we've appreciated getting back. The majority of colleges have reported back that well, I know that all the community colleges have these funds, and the majority have reported back the number of students approximately that they thought would be in here, and they've ranged anywhere from like 20 to 200 or 300 students at each of the colleges. So this would be new to kind of see how much of this is reported. The program has been around, I believe, for a number of years, and I don't know if the question has come up before from anybody as to or where you might have reported this before. Any comments on that? Still on mute. Okay. All right.
You are now muted.
Must be doing okay with this one, but you can always ask questions later as well.
Steve?
So the next one. Yes.
This is Becky. There was a comment or a question in the chat window.
Oh, there was?
On
Okay,
BFET.
let's go back.
Oh, there's a couple now.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Okay. If they have BFET only and no need-based aid, do we need to report them? I would say no this year, since we're not trying to collect all BFET for the whole state. That's a really big program. Jill, we award BFET as work study. Would it be reported in the same place? So I'm just thinking out loud on this one here, whether or not I would say yes, if possible, if it ends up showing as institutional employment, because I don't think it would show as work-study employment. If it ends up showing as institutional employment because that was easier for you, I think we could certainly handle it that way. I think trying to find the dollars is more important than which bucket this year, since it's fairly new that we're doing it. So, so in general, if you can report it all as workforce funds, let's do it that way. If that's really hard this first year and you can report it as student employment, institutional student employment, I think those are the only two buckets I could think of there. So, all right, we'll move on and we'll keep watching that one. So federal non-need-based loan recipients, same as last year, unsubsidized loans and plus loans that may apply. And for any of these loan recipients to report who are also receiving need-based assistance, the information report, who are not receiving need-based assistance, the information report will be minimal, and we'll show that. Next slide. Becky?
Okay. As in the past, what the CTCs will be doing is entering the award codes into specific buckets on a processing table entry. The entry is, or the processing table is CIS/WAT, and there's all sorts of categories. You probably all remember, or those that have done unit record in the past will remember all the different categories. And there are separate entries for need-based awards and non-need-based federal loans. There were several different categories added last year. As Steve has mentioned, there's no different categories this year. So probably what you have on your processing table is probably still mostly accurate. There might just be some new awards that you would need to add or maybe move around a little bit. We will, as in the past, produce a unit record report document, hoping to have that out along with the updated program probably in a couple weeks, I would say. We're still in programming, and then we'll need to test. So that's it for now, Steve.
Okay, thank you. So some of the changes this year, it's all documented on page 3 of the handbook of the manual, and some of them are covered here. So for this year, we're requiring a first name for all students. This will be much ado about nothing for most, because everybody has reported a first name, but it was not required before. But if for some reason a student only had a last name, give the same name twice. So it would be Jones if that was all you had. Middle name, if you have that, provide that, or middle initials are okay too. Anything that helps us is really kind of a matching thing it will help us with. Gender is now required, and we do have a new code 3 that's unknown but it's not permissible to use it for FAFSA filers. So the kind of hardcore need-based students, you're going to have a FAFSA, and you only have the option of male or female for that. So we really want that, but for some of the other programs, you may not always know, and so you could put unknown for that. And we've changed the values that get through the edits, made them broader. And family income, the new value, I hope nobody earns negative $200,000, but we do allow for that. We have had some that exceeded negative $100,000 last year, and we're going up to $500,000 as the family income. Now, you can exceed those. You just need to go through the edit process and explain that they are factual. So, these edits are meant so that if you put $5 million when you meant $500,000, obviously we catch that in the edit, and you'd see it and you'd fix it. But cost of attendance, we've also upped that. Not that any one school yet has cost of attendance more than $9,999 in 1 year, at least at the undergraduate level. But we did find that there are 1 or 2 schools that have borrower-based years, and they're expensive schools, and they can sometimes show 2 cost of attendance in 1 year in terms of the way they do this. So this will make it easier for them. Federal Pell Grant, it shows the maximum for last year, $5,650. And direct subsidized loans, we've doubled that to allow for those schools that end up showing 2 loans in 1 year based upon 1 FAFSA. And they've actually asked us in the future to increase the unsubsidized loan amount too, which we've not done this year, but we'll probably do for next year. So you have to override it this year. The opportunity grant, I think we simply didn't have a maximum last year. We just have an edit value of up to $10,000. I think that will be only high for probably most, if not all, cases. And field definition expansion for CTCs, we are requiring in the first 9 characters of the institution ID that you show the college-assigned SID number. This is something we talked about both with the CTC section and with the public baccalaureates, that this helps immensely to have this as we work with some of the external agencies that are looking at financial aid that can't use Social Security number. So this field allows for up to 50 characters, so if you want to add an additional number past that 9 characters, that's certainly fine. Now, we say it's required, but we do allow that as an overridable one. So if there are some case of a student who just doesn't have one, you just have to write a note that it's not available. But we're hoping that everybody has it to help with the research team as they work with these other external state agencies to match up data. Federal nursing scholarships and loans, I don't think these apply in the CTC section. But just as a comment, though, we've expanded it just to be broader definitions, so we didn't have to change the actual name of the field at this time. So for some colleges, they might have veterinarian money in some of these rather than just nursing money or other healthcare money. Passport to College program. If incentive grants were provided to students with additional scholarships, this is a place you can add this to the award. The question came up last year from us. That's not the intent of the program to do that. The normal passport, I think, is $4,500, but there were a few colleges last year who gave extra money towards tuition, and they said, where do we put this? And so if that is the case, add it in this section. And in some ways, the concept here may be a little similar with the BFET monies that, you know, if you've got needy students who are getting that money, we're finding that, and we have a space for that this year. Next slide. Becky?
Okay. As part of our updating to the unit record report process for the CTCs, we will be including the new required student data, which includes the first name, the middle initial, if it's available, and gender, and then also the student ID from SMS will be included in the CSV file that's created when you run job SM9738J. Back to you, Steve.
You've got a lot of fun numbers there, all those 97, 37. Yeah,
and
that sounds like a new jet from Boeing or something. Field definition expansion. Year in school, and this does apply a lot to the CTC sector. And we've worked with Becky and team, so we'll be interested in what her comments are in a few minutes. But Code 1 of the freshman year, we're saying do not include 100-level remedial courses and credit hours. So that won't impact the freshman year, but it may keep students in the freshman year longer on the reports than if they were not excluded, if you will. Code 3 is to include first-year applied baccalaureate students who already have an associate's degree. Code 4 includes second-year applied baccalaureate students who have an associate's degree. And Code 5, or unclassified, include those working on a second bachelor's and students with a bachelor's who are getting an associate's degree. So that last one could apply to you. This may not be a perfect world that we catch everybody, but these are the proper buckets for them. So, Becky, what do you have for us?
Okay. Oh, we've got exciting things happening. To make sure the correct year in school is posted into FAM, which is where the unit record report job will pull this data. We have made some modifications to the job that posts the year in school from SMS. That job is SM9146J. It now, or when you run it before you do unit record, it will only look at college level earned credits. So this will, that was the only way we could meet the thing that Steve just talked about not including remedial courses. Now there may be some students that are taking less than 100 level courses that are not remedial. Those you might want to look on a case-by-case basis, but for the majority of your students, what they have earned that's 100 level or above will be looked at to determine their year in school. Go ahead, Steve. Sure.
Yeah, just so everybody knows, the intent of this in terms of the way unit record tracks year in school, it's certainly not meant to in any way infringe upon the way you actually do your business at your school, but it's meant to be kind of a standardized way in which the state kind of captures which students are kind of the first year of collegiate level, the second year, third year, etc. And although the slide doesn't say it, the manual covers it pretty nicely. That this capturing is really at the time, the last term in which the student gets aid during that particular year in which they get financial aid. So, for example, if a student started out in the fall term and they went all the way through the spring, whatever their class standing was at the beginning of the spring term is really what we're looking at now. So a student might have been a freshman at the beginning of year 2 at that point, but it's just a protocol that we've established like that. The one thing it does do, though, is that by not doing it at the end of the summer, if we were taking everybody's class standing right now, there'd be very few students, certainly at the 4-year colleges, and not as many at the 2-year either, that showed it as class level 1 because they would have all advanced, most advanced to the sophomore level. So we're really trying to see where was the student for the most part during that year, so we have a good distribution of freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors in this reporting scheme. So, Becky?
Steve, thank you. Steve brought up a good point. One of the items that they asked us to do was also make sure that the last quarter, or to get the standing at the last quarter of the year the student attended and received financial aid. So there is some calculation in SM 9146 that will go back to that point. We're kind of deducting credits earned because oftentimes by the time you run this job, they could have earned credits for summer and so on, which might be included in next year, and that they might be reported as a level 2 year student rather than a 1. So this job has been modified to more accurately post the year in school. For those colleges that have the baccalaureate students, those students will be identified by their intent in SMS. And so baccalaureate students, or the BAS students, are all coded with an intent of I on their quarterly record. So we will look at that and then look at the number of credits and determine whether they're a 3 or a 4-year student based on the range in the unit record manual from the council. We are also looking at the ICER record, and if the student had entered yes on FAFSA question number 28, we will post a 5, no matter what the other, how many credits, college level credits they have earned in SMS. So, back to you, Steve.
This is really good work that Becky and her team have done. I think, with the applied baccalaureate degrees, this is becoming a bigger and bigger, as you know, part of higher education, and for us to be able to report things out in that way will be helpful. We were limited before this year in being able to report out on the applied baccalaureates, and that solution you came up with, the bachelor's degree, was a pretty clever one too. So thank you.
Thank you.
So for all financial aid recipients, these are both need and non-need based that you report. These are the fields that are required in all cases. SSN is a student or state resident. You're in school. Financial aid for each term, even if it's 0. So you can have a lot of zeros on there, as you know, for a lot of terms for a lot of programs. But first name, last name, gender, and enrollment status per term. And so I'd watch that one carefully. There seemed to be a little higher error rate last year on that one than some others. That folks that were not always showing enrollment status per term if there was 0 to 8, but we need to know that too. Report financial aid for each of 5 terms, and you did that well last year, all the colleges through the portal, so we appreciate that. And enrollment status for all 5 terms. And just as a reminder to report all non-need-based aid received for all need-based recipients. So, I mean, these example is, somebody gets a Pell Grant and maybe a state need grant, and they get a private scholarship that's not need-based. We need to know about the private scholarship because that's part of the student's package. But if they had non-need-based aid, let's say just a Stafford loan, unsubsidized loan, we don't need to know about the private scholarship in that case. CSV file requires a header row. We talked about that. And Summer 1 for the terms is used primarily by leader or header award schools. And all of you have fall, winter, spring. And Summer 2 by those that have kind of a trailer term. And I think it seems like the community technical college sector is pretty split between those that use in Summer 1 and Summer 2. Rarely would one use both. I mean, it could be some unique case for a particular individual, but we did find, and I'm digressing a little bit, but even on the final interim report, there are a couple colleges who were showing both lots of Summer 1 and lots of Summer 2, and you can really only show either Summer 1 or Summer 2 on things like the interim report. Next slide. Becky?
Okay. Our friend, the SM 9738J job, will select the need-based recipients for 1314, the non-need-based federal loan recipients. It will produce the CSV file with the required header. We'll make sure of that. And all 5 quarters are included in the CSV file. And then based on whether you are a header or a trailer, the data from the appropriate quarter will be placed in the appropriate location in the CSV file, meaning if you awarded for B341, it'll go in Summer 1, and then for those trailers that awarded in B345, the data will go in Summer 2. So just wanted to mention that. Back to you, Steve.
All right. This next one on Summer 8, we've kind of covered this indirectly already, so I'm not going to spend much time on it, but I will say that you can go to our website and even right now and look at this PowerPoint whenever you want. And we're going to, which is doesn't have the verbal comments. We are going to add a second PowerPoint up there with the narrative that's going on today as well. If either you or any of your colleagues that are on the line today want to hear that later. Probably you wouldn't want to hear it again, but they might want to hear it. Next slide.
Okay, and this is just a recap of what I said just a moment ago. The 1 quarter, this will go in Summer 1, the B341 awards, and then awards entered into B345 will be placed in the Summer 2 location in the CSV file. So just a recap.
All right, we are on the FAFSA-related fields. Certainly all FAFSA filers must provide marital status, dependency, family size, number of college income, EFC, cost of attendance, need duration, need amount.
And just a note that we will make sure that the CSV file will contain this required data that Steve had just mentioned on the previous slide. So it should all be there.
Sure. Yeah, let's go ahead and check for questions. There is one by Lorraine. Where will the FM grade level be posted?
Lorraine, that goes on the financial aid tab. It's year in school. It's kind of down towards the bottom and on the left-hand side. And my programmer, Stefan, who is the one that makes this program work, is just wanted to mention that if the student doesn't have a first name, you don't need to worry about it in the file. We're going to take care of that programmatically. As long as the student has a last name in FAM.
Okay, did we get all the questions in? All right, thanks.
You are now unmuted.
Is there any other questions? Verbal questions? All right, let's go back in.
You are now muted.
All right, special notes about specially selected fields. Let's go on. All right. Exciting things like duplicates are not accepted for Social Security numbers. Dave works real hard to make sure that we don't get duplicates. Dave's a tough guy but a nice guy. SSN need grant and college-bound recipients will be compared to SSNs reported in the final interim report. And any discrepancies will show up on the edit report. In general, those two programs are the most closely watched by us and most heavily reported out because of the size and the complexity of them. So we're really careful of trying to keep those in balance to make sure that you're reporting all the students that should be and not reporting too many and not reporting too few. So really watch, if you will, any edit reports and discrepancies and make that just as clean as possible. For year in school, again, I think your system, Becky talked about, is going to take care of this, but we're not using the year in school report in the FAFSA. We're doing a calculated one based upon their enrollment at the last term in which they received financial aid. So next, okay. Becky?
And to add on to that, you do, when you are preparing to, for running the unit record job, you first need to run SM 9146J. As I mentioned before, this is a job that looks in SMS and will post the grade level to the year in school field on the financial aid tab in FAM. And then SM 9738J will use the value posted in the year in school field on the financial aid tab in FAM. So it all kind of fits together.
Okay, family size certainly is generally what's reported on the FAFSA. The couple edits must be 2 or higher for dependent students, must be 1 or higher for independent students. And number in college, same kind of a logic, must be 1 or higher and can't exceed the family size. The parents' enrollment in college should not be included unless it was a professional judgment decision. And reporting family income from the, it's usually going to be 2012 income from the FAFSA, professional judgments. If you've used those, you're going to be reporting that figure. And you're to report integers without dollar signs or cents. Here's a couple examples, and this is the only place in the file where negative numbers should be used or can be used. Becky?
Okay, I'm waiting for it to, okay, my display was kind of trying to catch up there. Okay, so for income, if dependent, we will pull parents' information and report that, income information. If it's an independent student, then we pull the student's information. And as we discovered last year, there are some negative incomes, and those will be reported. I know last year you had to kind of do some special stuff to get those to the council, but through the portal, but now they'll automatically be included.
Great. Reporting the expected family contribution often will be the federal methodology calculation, may be adjusted by PJ, and should reflect the number of months reported in the needs duration. Most campuses are going to have a variety of budgets, so we're just asking you to report what's used related to the need amount based on the need duration. So really all these ones are trying to keep in the same and a symmetry that if you're using a 9-month need duration, you're using cost of attendance for 9 months, you're using BFC for 9 months, etc. If you do adjust one, we ask you to adjust all of those. However, it does not mean that in the case of a student who you thought was coming for 9 months and you did all your stuff on a 9-month basis, and the student doesn't return the winter or spring, you don't need to adjust all of those budget, EFC, and so forth unless you do, if you do any, you do all. But, I mean, you could just show they have 0A for the winter or spring, and they still show a 9-month duration, and we'll know what happened in that case. So that's clear. But trying to keep all these, there were cases of folks that would just show sometimes EFC for 4 months, but a budget for 9 months, and that makes things very, very complicated to kind of analyze. We found that from some of the external agencies when they were trying to do some review, and so we're trying to get that all in line. So here is that wonderful formula we all love. Cost of attendance minus EFC equals need, and where we all try to give the student as much money as possible to meet that need. All three should be based on the same thing. And for need amount, report the amounts used in the disbursement of aid. Need amounts should report as 0 or higher. Do not report negative values, please, even though I know the calculation could come out negative, but we're asking that just be reported as 0. Becky?
Okay. There is a error message that will show on the reports produced by SM 9738. The message is need amount invalid. If the need amount is not the cost of attendance minus the combined student and parent contribution. So to follow the formula that Steve just talked about, if you do have something that doesn't follow that formula, you will see this error message on the reports. Steve?
Great. Okay, report the need duration based on number of months which need was calculated, etc. This would normally be numbers 1 through 12. Again, I think we might have had some outliers of 13 or 14 for some schools that had a budget-based year that was a little different, but I don't think that will impact CTC section. And for term enrollment statuses, these are the same codes that we use for the Seesaw interim report. And so if you're not enrolled, you can either put a 0 or not enrolled, full-time, etc. The numbers series always appears a little odd, but that's the way it is. It was the way it was designed a number of years ago. Rather than change it, we stick with that progression there. So 1 is full-time, 2 is half-time, 3 is three-quarter time, and 5 is half-time. That'd be a good financial aid trivia question sometime for people to ask without looking at their manual. I don't think I did it right. Excellent. Okay. For state need grants, and again, this is the biggest state program, somewhere around $320 million now. So we've got report the final awards received by the students, As I mentioned, the tool checks against the final interim report, and also it will show you if there are SNG students not reported. You got to check those out. So this happens every year in a number of schools. So the cleaner you can make that before it actually goes in the system, the better. Next slide. College-bound scholarship, basically the same thing. Is try to make that as perfect as possible. There are some overrides that you can do on these, but you have to leave messages, the reason why it would not match up, and then we could check that out. State work study, our third state program that we're watching carefully, and we have Jeff and Marlena who are comparing what you report to what their records show, so this needs to be as accurate as possible as well. You're reporting gross earnings, which includes an employer match, includes summer employment if that's part of the the 13-14 FAFSA. And this last item, don't know if this applies to you. It applies to a couple of the private colleges I know where they don't necessarily keep everything tracked by term, and so there's a system here where you can kind of average what they get per term. But I'll see what Becky has to say, what you guys are doing. Next slide. Mm-hmm. Oh, we're not on to Becky yet. We're still on to me.
Yeah, still on to you.
Do you have a slide on that one that talks about work study?
It will be, what will be reported would be the gross, or whatever the college puts on the award screen, which I believe is typically the gross amount.
Okay. So institutional gift aid, there are two categories to put it in. Either it's need-based aid, so this is anything that's solely or partially based upon a FAFSA, and non-need-based aid would be anything awarded without regard to FAFSA data. So hopefully that, when we went to this last year, hopefully it became easier than having 4 categories part of that. Seemed to have gone pretty good from our end last year to be able to review that. So next slide. And other state-funded gift assistance. So if there are anything else from the state that you haven't figured out where else to put it here. Several of these programs are near and dear to Ann Voll's heart. She's managed these programs, the American Indian Endowed Scholarship. She's managed Washington Scholars and WAVE, although both those latter 2 programs are diminishing and just into kind of renewal awards right now. If you have Gear Up funds, that can be put in this bucket. And like I said, if you have something else, you can either put it there or call us and talk to us, see if it makes sense there. But the intent of the records to capture everything that a needy student gets in some place. So most cases you can find a good place for it, we hope. Becky?
Okay. As Stephen mentioned, there's quite a few categories or buckets, and a complete list of all the 8 categories and where you need to put them on the processing table will be included with the State Board IT unit record documentation. I will send out a notice to BFE&T when the documentation is available, and when the 2013-14 SM9738J is available. Coming soon, in a couple weeks.
BFE&T sounds like an interesting character.
It's our little list serve function. It's our list.
Or unknown. Okay. Edit. All right. Let's check, see if there are any more questions. Any more questions or chats? Okay.
You are now unmuted.
We'll go back then again.
You are now muted.
in case you're wondering, our estimated completion time will be 3:30. So we'll move along. Edits, help ensure data quality. We've talked about some of these as we've gone along. And there are not as many edits for students that are receiving only non-need-based federal loans, and not as many data elements that have to be completed. And FAFSA edits are also softened a bit for those that are not receiving FAFSA required aid types. Next slide. So here's some examples, and if you want to see them all, go to page 36 of the manual and the appendix. And things that will prevent the file upload, which Becky and Stefan and her staff are working hard to make sure this doesn't happen, is header row missing or invalid. If you had duplicate Social Security numbers or just invalid codes like gender, if you put code 4, that wouldn't work. It has to be one of the valid codes, and those are all clearly delineated in the manual. And blanks reported in required fields. So, Dave, if somebody didn't put 0 in for aid types, would those be rejected?
Yes. And it will identify in the list of errors when you try to what line the error was associated with.
Okay. Thanks. Appendix C in the manual, some non-overrideable edit examples of you do everything possible except there's no financial aid reported. That is a non-overrideable edit. That could have been downloaded, right? But it's not, gets to the point where the edit has to be fixed. So in that case, you either delete the student if there really was no financial aid, or you more likely find what financial aid has to be put in there. A non-resident with state need grant or other state aid. So that one we actually worked with a couple of institutions that last year during this process found out that they had inappropriately awarded a state need grant or college-bound scholarship. Didn't happen often, probably less than a handful. But if that happens, then we have to rectify that and make sure, because we do not want to report out that we've got non-residents receiving state need grant, for example. So that's not the intent of this to catch that, but if that catches anything like that, we'd want to fix it at that point. Number of college greater than the family size is a non-overrideable edit example, and there'll be more on page 37. Next slide. Some examples of overrideable edits. Hey, Alex, I'm going to let Dave explain this one here. You want to do that one, Dave?
Which one's that?
Just talk about these.
All righty. Well, Carol will be discussing this a little bit more in the coming slides, but essentially these are errors that you might get that might be legitimate, but initially we question whether or not the values are correct, such as need amount is 0 with need-based aid. And as you see, the notion is, in that case, that the budget could have changed with drop credits and so forth. You're in school for aid type. Here again, a student may have advanced a year in school, midterm, graduated, and so forth. Will that happen in the community college situation? I'm guessing that it might not, that particular error.
It might not, but yeah, it happens more between grad and undergraduate years of Pell Grants or something that all of a sudden they show them as a graduate student and they get a Pell Grant fall term and they're a graduate student spring term. So
certainly date of birth outside of normal range. We have a pretty broad range of, I think, maybe 13 or so to 75. I'm not sure exactly what the date range is. But if you had some prodigy that was in it at 9, I mean, just tell us, and that's perfectly fine. And somebody that's over 75, certainly there are some folks that are coming back to school at that age, and that's great. We don't want to discourage them, but just tell us why, or tell us what the situation is. Cost of attendance minus expected staffing contribution calculated by the EDIT program doesn't equal the need amount reported by the college. I'm not actually sure what the situation is to generate this.
Yeah, it does happen sometimes because we do ask for those independently, those figures there. So I think the calculation that Becky and her staff are doing are going to catch that at most of the community colleges, it sounds like. So it's trying to keep those all in line because we ask for those as an independent figure. What is the need amount? The math could be off at some colleges, and this catches for any calculations that would be incorrect. So those are all examples of ones that maybe there's an explanation, you get a chance to make an explanation to override it. Our staff will also look at it later then once the override to see if there's any other follow-up that we want to do. Becky?
Okay. There it goes. Okay, just waiting for the slide to change. Okay. The edits, we have...
Long ways for that data to get over there.
Okay. The edits in the SM9738J do mimic, if I can say it, the portal edits. Students with errors on the SM9738J reports are included in the CSV file with two exceptions. If the students' award amounts are 0 for the whole year, it'll show as they wouldn't be included. If students have awards that aren't entered on a CIS WAT processing table entry, those won't be included because they don't know what category to put them in. Also new this year, the SM9738C report, which is the error report, has been modified to optionally list students by error message or error messages by student. I think in the past it just gave a count. So now you could have it list all the students with errors and what those errors are, or list the error messages, and then the students would follow that have that error message would be listed below. So hopefully that will help make the cleanup a little more easier for you. Back to you, Steve.
Thank you. So tips and best practices, do this early. Don't wait till the submission deadline. Use all the manual and training materials, and there is a test site in the portal that you could use. So I think the two colleges that submitted on the first date probably had done that, and it was much easier for them to get through. Use the information reports to check for consistency and validity. Karen may show you how that works in a few minutes. And you're going to have a nice SB CTC documentation manual before too long, or document that helps you. And you get great help there at the central office. And certainly we'll have our contact information at the end if you have any questions or problems not addressed in the manual, or just need to talk it through, give us a call. And with that, let's check to see if any more. Oh, we have one more for Becky. Pardon me.
Yep, I've got two slides here. Just wanted to go over the basic steps for the CTCs. And this will be included in the unit record documentation. Just wanted to kind of mention them here so you get your minds kind of set for this. You would first reconcile your awards with the expenditure database. Then you run the job to post the SMS Year in School to Financial Aid tab. That's the 9146J. Then there is a job to update the academic hours on the academic tab. All of this is listed in the document, so you don't need documentation, so you don't need to jot this all down. You run the job to update residency status from SMS. There is a data express procedure to determine if the award code was used during the 2013-14 year. That would be helpful if you need to remove some award codes off of the CISWAT processing table. And if so, then you would update it. Next slide, please. Okay, then you run SM9738J, review the reports and correct errors. And when you are ready, then run SM9738J in final mode, which will generate the final reports and the CSV file. You use a HPUX screen, SM9724, to download the CSV file to a local network drive, which you then would upload the file to the student portal, or to the WASAC portal. There, that's the whole basic steps in a nutshell.
All right, well, let's take a look, see if we have any more questions before we have Kara.
You are now unmuted.
More questions. All right, so next, Carol Larson is going to spend 20 minutes max on showing us.
Let's hope it's not 20 minutes.
Hope it's not 20 minutes. All right. Take it away, Kara.
Hi, everybody. I'll be going over how to upload the CSV file and how to resolve any edits if you have any after upload. The same information is gone over in more detail in Chapter 3 of the Unit Record Manual. So if you have any questions after our presentation is over, you can refer to that.
And you know how to do that.
Any questions? Okay, so can you go back one? So the first screen is where you log in with your email address and password. Next slide. From here, if you go to the program's drop-down menu, select Unit Records. This is the welcome screen that you'll see if you have not been in the unit record yet this year. It might look a little bit different if you've already gone through part of the process. So the first thing you want to do when you see this screen is click on the button Next to proceed to upload. From here, you can upload the CSV file. So the first thing you want to do is click on the Browse button to find the file on your hard drive, and then click on the Upload button once you find the correct file. And once you click on the Upload button, you'll see a processing file bar.
Sit down.
Bar shows you how long it's taking to process. Next slide.
It's okay.
If you file to upload correctly, you'll get messages like this one here. If you get multiple error messages, then it will allow you to download them to a separate CSV file where you can see all of them. You want to then discard the file, correct any errors, and once the file has uploaded successfully, you'll see a screen like this one where you can verify the total number of students and the number
It looks like
years old. So if any of the numbers don't look correct to you, then you may want to
the goldenrod.
And have to correct the file.
I think this will only be needed when we make some flyers.
After you upload the file successfully, you can process the edits. So the program will look for any possible errors in data. Again, you'll have a process bar to see how long processing your edits.
White, the pink, the red, and the yellow.
And everyone check their phone or their mic to see that it's muted. for NCR.
It sounds like our line isn't muted, so hold on just a second.
You are now muted.
Okay. Sorry about that. Should we see if there are any questions? Oh.
We need to go back.
No. Oh, well, good. Okay, I'll bring the mic up closer to my face too, so you all can hear me better. So this is the screen where you're processing edits. It may take a while. I think, Dave, you said for larger institutions it'll take a minute. Yeah. It won't be instantaneous. Yeah. So you can start working on the edits as they're processing. If you do so every once in a while, you would just want to hit that refresh button. Next slide. From this screen, after the processing is finished, you can filter by edit type, or you can sort by the different columns, SSN, student ID, etc. In the far right column, the overridable column, it will show you what kind of, well, it'll show you if the error is overridable or if it is not. If it's not overridable, it'll be a red stop sign. So in that case, you would need to fix that kind of error. The overridable ones you can either fix or override with a comment. And as you can see, it'll turn green if you have overridden it. Next slide. So to fix any edits, any errors, you click on the SSN of the student's file that you want to fix or override. Next slide. This will take you to the student's data. There are two different tabs, student demographics and need, which is the screen that's showing right now, and the student aid tab. At the very top of the screen, it will show you the error message. In this case, it says student not enrolled. Next screen. So with this, since it's an overridable edit, you can either override it by clicking on the override button, which is right next to the error message, or you can fix the error, which the second arrow is showing you. Since the student was not enrolled, you can go to the enrollment status drop-down and pick an enrollment status. If you chose to overwrite it, then this comment pop-up window will pop up, and you just type in your comment there and click Save. And after you do that, if you hover your mouse over the little blue eye, it will show you the override comment that you made. Next slide. This is just another screenshot of the student aid screen. It shows you the federal, state, and institution programs. All aid must be reported by term, so that's what that's showing, the 5 different terms. Next slide. After all errors have been fixed or overridden, you will see a link that says Submit this unit record report. So you can click on that. And then you can see the summary data pops up again, just another way for you to verify that the information looks accurate before you submit the report. And then you have to click on Submit Unit Record Report again. And that's it. Let's see if there are any questions.
Becky, you want to give some summary comments?
Oh, sure. For all you CTC folk out there, if you have any questions about getting unit records set up, processing table, etc., running the jobs, correcting errors, downloading the CSV file, please contact our customer support. The email is support@sbctc.edu, or the phone number is 425-803-9721.
Okay, thank you. And for here at the Student Achievement Council, this first link is where we have the manuals, and we have copies of the PowerPoint, CSV file there. Second item, the unit record at wasc.wa.gov is probably the best email address to use if you're just kind of trying to get this questions answered relatively quickly. Anne monitors this daily, and if she can't answer it, she'll forward it to either Kara or me, or if it's really a technical issue, Dave Richard. So she's going to keep things rolling nicely to make sure that you get responses back. Now, you also have phone numbers for Kara or for me. So there are times I certainly am glad to talk to anybody if they have questions as well. So sometimes it's easier to explain it that way. So with that in mind, we are very, very appreciative of the work that has been done, and even more so all the hard work that will be done in the next month or so for all of you to get these reports done. They do make a big difference for the state to be able to gather and present all this data. The unit record is not meant to be a absolute 100% verification of every dollar that students get in the state. I'd say it's 99.5% close, and for a couple of programs, state need grant, college bound, it may be even closer to 100% than that. But it's really meant to capture very well for us to be able to explain to legislators, policymakers, and hopefully to advocate for more financial aid as we need it, looking at needs and unmet needs and things of that nature. So, any other final comments?
You are now unmuted.
Or anybody, are we unmuted now?
Unmuted.
We're unmuted. If there are any other questions from the audience, from our colleagues out there. Hearing none, have a wonderful rest of the summer, and we'll look forward to working with you and getting this completed by the middle of October. Goodbye.
Thanks all. Bye-bye.